Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being in attendance today. I would like to introduce you to our two speakers who will be speaking today, Dr. Ebony Kane and Dr. Sungvi Lee. Now, Dr. Ebony Kane, before joining GSEP, served as a nonprofit leader building programs that focus attention and services on the educational inequity and academic advancement of at-risk and low-income students and communities. She worked within urban schools as they implemented and created instructional and structural programs promoting greater equity, access, and choice for students of modest means. Dr. Kane's research explores educational equity, research methodology, and urban school reform. She is passionate about extending engagement for urban K-12 youth while nurturing educators in state-of-the-art research methodologies. A little bit about Dr. Sung Lee. Dr. Lee's research focuses on collaborative learning, online interactions, socio-cognitive processes, and creativity among K-12 students, particularly in the context of STEM education. He is currently involved in 2 studies funded by the National Science Foundation. He served as the program committee co-chair for the 2020 International Conference on Quantitative Ethnography. His previous professional experiences include policy research and program management roles within the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, International Organization for Migration, IOM, and nonprofit foundations in Korea and the US. And before I have them speak, let me go ahead and introduce you to Dr. Melvin. Dr. Melvin Johnson was a primary school teacher who recently graduated from the EDOL Organizational Leadership Program. While in the program, he researched the socio-emotional growth of African-American male students through his dissertation named Exploring Socio-Emotional Success Amongst African-American Boys, an exploration of the relationships between parental support and instructional support in early childhood education. Dr. Johnson was also recently published author of a book named The McKinnons, which is a family tragedy set in an alternative history. The McKinnons family live in the United States where the Jim Crow laws are actual laws and each race is strictly segregated into different colonies. He also just finalized his second book, The ECN Theory, which will be hopefully released. But with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to Dr. Kane.
Thank you so much, and thank you for putting this together, Dr. Ghazi. Thank you everyone for being here today. Good afternoon. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share some remarks about a gifted teacher, a driven scholar, and a dear friend. Dr. Melvin C. Johnson II was the personification of passion. His passion was evident in his commitments to his students, his love of his beautiful family, and the way he could set anyone at ease with the flash of his brilliant smile. I've had the honor of working with him as a student in my course his first year in the program. I've traveled with his cohort to Washington, D.C. during my second year. I worked with him as his advisor and hooded him as he walked across the stage in September 2021. Over that time, I have seen the joy on his face as he spoke about children, the concern that he expressed as he considered in his research the experiences of African-American boys in early education. Many of our advising sessions took place over Zoom just like this. He sat dressed to the nines, because that's just who he was, at his computer screen where he spent most of the time as a middle school teacher. And our agendas were always full of next steps and milestones, and we would eagerly talk through each one. And midway through the session, he would stop and talk to his sons who were patiently waiting in the classroom because it was one of his teacher prep days. I think I see the guys here on the call. Hi, guys. Sorry about that. Hold on one second. At one point or another, he would move the camera toward them and they would politely wave hello, just like they did before they returned to their self-guided play. Together, we would plan and we would edit until the sound of an administrator would interject over a loudspeaker, reminding the teacher to do this or that, and we would just stop and we would laugh. His efforts to change the outcomes of African-American boys through access to early childhood education, his ability to grapple with the quality of their experiences, the observable achievement gaps, and the strategies for how to make parents more effectively engaged in their children's education, creating space for them. He described transforming his classroom into an oasis for young Black boys who were labeled problem or disruptive. And he appealed to his colleagues about what they might be missing when their patience ran inevitably too thin. He was determined to make sense of all of this. Our last conversation took place at that commencement ceremony. I had the pleasure of meeting Melvin's parents and his family and seeing his beautiful children blissfully run across the sprawling grass underneath the warm Malibu sun. I embraced his wife and watched as she glowed and shared details of their new addition that would join us in just a few short weeks. After we took pictures with his classmates, arm in arm and smiling in their regalia, Melvin handed me a box that he had been holding. He watched me as I carefully opened it, and inside that box was a Black hoodie with this big black font that read the McKinnons. On the back were the words, "What is kin to you?" The McKinnons, you heard a little bit about the novel that he wrote. He looked at me and smiled, and I just had to smile because I knew what that message was. That was the message of, you know, when I was supposed to be writing my dissertation, well, I was also writing this book and raising my family and working with these students. And all I knew is it was perfect. And as I turned to leave, he said, "Dr. Kane, I think I want to do work in psychology, so I'll be emailing you this week." And I looked at him and I said, "Okay, Melvin, but not today." I reminded him that on that day, there were no agendas and no action items, and it was just a day to celebrate. The news of his passing was devastating. And like many, I found myself in disbelief and a little bit lost. It strikes me now that in that moment, in our last conversation, we didn't even say goodbye, but instead we just start planning, because that's who Melvin is. Always focus on building and growing. Someone asked me a few months back, how can we honor him? And at the time, my grief didn't allow me to think of an answer, and the answer was right in front of me. We honor Melvin by continuing his work. We demand better outcomes for African-American males. We work to enhance policies and practice that improve early access to childhood education. We support parents as critical partners in the work of education, and we create pathways for scholars like Melvin, who are parents and teachers. Finally, we ask ourselves, what is kin to you? The meaning of the word kin is family. And if you're here today, you're part of Melvin's family, and he made you feel like it. And I can imagine that that's how he made every single student that entered his class. We honor Melvin today by extending all of those efforts and continuing to do that important work. In reflecting on his purpose, Melvin wrote, "I dedicate my work to all the young and old men who look like me, who have been through all the tougher times due to what we were brought into with this world, without any choice of how things were supposed to be versus how we would like them to be. I feel it's my responsibility as a scholar to expose some things that cause African-American males so much stress and pain when we didn't want any of it in the first place. Not only is this work dedicated to you, but I'm going to continue to dedicate my life and my life work to helping, mentoring, and growing. I think that we can all agree this is work that we can do for Melvin." Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kane. Dr. Lee.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kane. And I also want to thank everyone in the room for being here. I have a small PowerPoint that I want to share here as I, just a sec. And hopefully, are you seeing Yeah.
So we're seeing this in presenter mode.
Oh.
Do you want it in presenter mode or do you want to?
No, so hopefully
So
that
you,
switches it.
perfect.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So just a sec as I expand my screen. Are you still able to see the screen here? Okay, great. For some reason, I'm not able to, I'm like, my thing is covering it. So, but okay. Whew. Thank you. And I'm very honored and grateful to be able to participate in today's event as we celebrate and remember the life of Dr. Melvin Johnson II. So Dr. Johnson was my classmate, my colleague, and my friend. We studied together in the same doctoral cohort beginning in the fall of 2016. And we also walked across the same graduation stage together last September. And it's that same moment that Dr. Kane just spoke of. I will never forget that beautiful sunny morning in Malibu as the three of us, or as we, and that included myself, Melvin, and Dr. Charles Opong, who's also here with us. Thank you for being here, Charles. As we congratulated each other on a job well done, and we also took a moment to speak about all the things that we were doing and all the things that we wanted to accomplish in the future. And what a wonderful moment that was. And that's the memory that I will always have of Dr. Melvin Johnson. So one thing that I can say about Melvin, and with confidence, and I think many of us in the room would agree, is that Melvin lived his life to the fullest. He was a man of effort, and he continuously put in work, making the most of each and every endeavor in anything that he engaged in. And he strived to become the best person that he could be, so that in turn, he can actually use the knowledge and the skills to serve others, whether it's his family, his friends, his students, his community. And I was constantly amazed by his drive and commitment. And so he was a full-time teacher, but in addition to that, he was always busy mentoring, tutoring students, as well as engaging in creative activities. Which leads me to this Bible verse from the second book of Peter. And I will just read it as is. Let me try to get this out the way so that I can do that. Okay. It reads, "His divine power has given us everything we need for a godly life through our knowledge of him who has called us by his own glory and goodness. Through these, he has given us his very great and precious promises, so that through them you may participate in the divine nature, having escaped the corruption in the world caused by evil desires. For this very reason, make every effort to add to your faith goodness, and to goodness knowledge, and to knowledge self-control, and to self-control perseverance, and to perseverance godliness, and to godliness mutual affection, and to mutual affection love." Now, for me, Melvin consistently demonstrated tireless effort in all the areas that Peter speaks of, that Peter wants us to engage in. Melvin was a good man. very morally upright, and his thirst for knowledge it remained unquenched. And not only that, his persistence and his level of self-control, it allowed him to accomplish so much. But first and foremost, he was a man of love. He was a person of God, a person of love. He loved life. He was a great spouse. He was a loving spouse. He was a loving father. He sought to be a good role model, not only for his own children, but for the students that he had in his classes. I remember talking to Melvin about all the challenges he would face at his schools, from the students to the parents to the administrators, but he stood firm. He wanted to be there. He wanted to show his students what a smart, professional, responsible teacher who was also an African-American male could be like. And his passion for teaching and for positively affecting his students was simply unmatched. And Melvin was a gentleman, a kind soul. Here is a picture that I took in China as we're walking across the Tiananmen Square on a very windy day. And this is typical Melvin. He's lending his hand whenever he can. And on this occasion, it happened to be Dean Williams. And he was a good friend. Despite his busy schedule, he was there to play basketball or to talk through difficult moments. He was funny when he needed to be, and he was supportive when that was also needed. And this is a picture of us at a wedding of one of our cohort members and buddies, John. So he was there for us. And Melvin was also a man of action. I remember, so we had classes on Thursday nights. They would go from about 4:30 in the afternoon all the way up to about 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 sometimes. And I remember one Thursday evening after class, we got on an elevator to go home, and he turns to me and says, "Hey, I think I have an idea for my book." And so we go down to the lobby, and I hear from him the synopsis of this novel that he's thinking about. And I say, "Oh, that's great." But in my mind, I think about, oh yeah, he's going to probably do it later, when, after the doctorate degree, when there's more time. But no, that's not Melvin. He gets things done, right? He was on that task. He published that book last year, which was, like Dr. Kane said, was in addition to his dissertation and in addition to his full-time work. My goodness, when I heard it, I couldn't believe it, but knowing Melvin, I actually wasn't too surprised. And by the way, this is a plug. If you haven't read it yet, go look for it on Amazon. It is a fascinating read, and it is a page turner. So I highly recommend it. And the last thing I wanted to share was this picture. And this collage was put together by Dr. Charles Opong, who's in the middle there. And the top picture is from 2018, when we had just landed at LAX back from DC. The bottom picture is from September 25th, 2021, last year, when I last saw Melvin. And the bottom one, you can probably see we're a little older there, but hopefully we're a bit wiser. And the thing that I wanted to mention about this picture is that in that top picture, we are dreaming about that bottom picture. We are working hard, dreaming about that bottom picture. And guess what? In that bottom picture, we're actually dreaming about the next one. And we're talking about it. And we are talking about where we're headed, the opportunities that lie ahead of us, the path that we will take, and the path that we will support each other on. And that's what we did that day in Malibu. And so that third picture, we might not have, we won't have. But we know that Melvin is by God's side, and he'll be watching over us in our journeys. And I know that Melvin will want us to walk confidently down our paths, and for us to strive to live our lives to its fullest, just the way he had done it. And it is my belief that might be the way that I could, and perhaps we all could, do to honor and learn from Dr. Melvin Johnson's life. And I thank you all for giving me this opportunity and this time to share my thoughts and my memories. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry, Dr. King, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Dr. Lee. That was beautiful.
Thank you. So I want to go ahead and open this up to everybody. For all of you who knew Dr. Melvin Johnson, friends and family all on here, feel free to unmute yourselves, and we'd love to hear from you. We want to make this an open session now to everybody. So if anybody wants to speak, feel free to unmute, or you can raise your hand, and then that way we know that you want to speak, and then we'll go ahead and have you speak.
Christy?
Gosh.
Talk.
It's me, Ashley, Melvin's daughter, and he was really important to me. He was like a dad I've never had. Like, he was really nice.
Aww.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. What's your name?
Ashley.
Ashley. Nice to meet you, Ashley.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too.
I see Matthew's hand is raised, and then Dr. Ava. So go ahead, Matthew. Oh, Matthew, unmute yourself.
No, it's Melvin, not Matthew. My brothers over there with Ava or Haylock or something. I don't know. She has another name. Anyway, he died really early. We never got to go fishing to the Bahamas. We only went to the beach like 3 times. He really didn't stay that long. He was really representative. He meant his word. He kept his word. He did promise. He didn't make promises he couldn't keep. He meant the world to everybody. I'm speaking for everyone. I'm speaking for everyone anyway, but he meant the world to everybody, and he was like an infinite man. Like, he was like, nobody could find him anywhere. Like, he was on time. He was practically never absent unless he needed to be. He was the best man. He was Melvin Christopher Johnson II.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Thank you. I know Dr. Ava, you had your hand up.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
I just want to thank Julie, his wife, for sending me the notification today. I did not plan a speech. I didn't know we would have this opportunity, but I'm grateful to be here. It's very difficult for me even to think of what transpired with Dr. Johnson, Melvin. It's, for me, it's like a dream, and I'm still trying to wake up because I've worked side by side with Melvin for 5, 6 years, I believe, every single day in his classroom, first on site at the Inglewood location, and then when we moved into distance learning, again, I was fortunate to be his supervising administrator online. And that day I still have that picture in my head. He was dressed so nicely. And I joked at him. I said, "You're in the wrong field." I said, "You should be on the cover of GQ magazine." He was dressed in a beautiful blue suit, and he just chuckled and gave me that smile, that infectious smile. I'm sorry, I can't I can't speak of him without choking up. And he said, "Yes, I must be dressed to the nine because I'm going to pick up my new baby." And Melvin, his family was number one. He loved his kids. He loved his wife, Julie. And it just breaks my heart thinking about the loss that we are all suffering when Melvin went to rest. It's like a dream. Like I said, I just cannot get over it. And we've changed so many teachers since he passed, actually, because it's a tough job and it's a huge shoe to fill. I mean, teachers come and go, and none of them can measure up to him. And everything that was said today was well said, and it's true. He was one of a kind, and we used to say the good people don't last, and I always think about that. For all the years I've known him, I haven't seen Melvin upset with his students, even when he should have been. He never raised his voice above theirs when he should have. He had a way when other teachers had problems with students, they would say, he wasn't doctors yet. He was still in the process. The teachers would say, "Go to Mr. Johnson." And when I would walk into his classroom, I would say, "What are you doing here?" "Oh, I was sent to Mr. Johnson because I was acting up." And he had a way of talking to those kids like he would talk to Matthew and his other son and his daughter. And without raising his voice, he got those students to do exactly what he wanted. He had a way with kids. I mean, a special individual, and I miss him. I miss him daily. And I try to stay in contact with Julie and the kids because I just have to, and today I saw a picture of that beautiful baby. And it's just amazing. I'm going to stop because I'll embarrass myself here. But Dr. Johnson was such a special young man, a true role model to our kids, especially our boys. And, whenever he was on campus, I would see his kids with him. I can't recall him being there without his children. I had the pleasure of the last summer, with Ashley being there with him, and I met her for the first time, and it was just amazing the way he connected with his kids, the way he talked to them, even when he disciplined them, that loving voice. I mean, we really missed him. We lost a good one. We surely did. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you, Julie, for sending me this link today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ava. Thank you. There's a lot of hearts going on with everything that you just said. So go ahead and talk if you're next.
That he was one of a kind, and he always wanted me, my brother, and my sister always to be great just like him. He always wanted the best of us.
Thank you, Matthew. That's so sweet. Go ahead. Anybody else that would like to speak? Please go ahead. I think Yvonne, you're unmuted. Do you want to speak?
Yes, thank you. I'm Yvonne. I'm one of Melvin's aunts. I so appreciate what you guys do. Melvin was the first nephew on his side of the family, the first nephew and niece. And it's so hard. He had so many dreams. And like the other young man said, I think it might have been Dr. Lee, he didn't just dream. He fulfilled the things he wanted to accomplish. And I find myself, I'm a horrible procrastinator. And I always have all of these ideas, kind of like Melvin, but it's really hard for me to complete them. And I so admire that the dreams he had, he didn't just dream, he actively pursued them. And he is going to be missed forever. But thank you guys at Pepperdine so much for doing this. Not just for him, but for us to get an opportunity to hear from his colleagues and, you know, his friends and the people that he went to school with, because we know what we saw of Melvin and how we saw him, but it's nice to hear that other people had that appreciation. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're welcome. It is our honor and our pleasure to do this. Dr. Melvin Johnson was extremely valued and loved here at Pepperdine, as you can hear from Dr. Lee and Dr. Kane and how they spoke about Dr. Melvin Johnson. Yes, absolutely. And again, the forum is open to anybody else. Please feel free to unmute yourselves and speak. We'd love to hear more about your experiences. If you were his colleagues at Pepperdine, we'd love to hear more about your, your experiences, your memories with Dr. Melvin.
So, hello, everyone. My name is Mark Moore. Melvin was a good friend of mine, and I think he truly embodied like what it is to be, a good man and live your life the correct way. there's an old saying that, it's not about how long you live, but about how you live. And if you measure Melvin's life, he's done more and probably will do more than 1,000 people, So this guy, honestly, I think he changed the world, and he continues to change the world with just what he's done to all of us, what he's inspired in us, and the conversations he's had with us, and the way he changed us as people. And I think the most important thing we could do going forward is kind of live on his legacy, take those inspirations that he gave us in life and carry them out in our own life. We could all strive to be better people. I used to be, one of the things that always amazed me about Melvin, it was like how much he'd do all the time and while juggling so much. I mean, this guy would get up at 4:30 in the morning, go work out, come home, take care of his family, go work all day, come back, take care of his family while writing a book, while, getting his doctor's degree. And it's just amazing how much, a person can do in life if they truly apply themselves. And he motivated me in so many ways that made me want to become a better person and do more with my life. And I think if every single person kind of takes those little things and does just a little bit more with their life, he's truly a world changer. So I am so grateful to have him as a friend. And I know how much he means to everyone in this group. And I'm glad that everyone showed up here and, put this together, and we're able to honestly celebrate such a precious and great life. And, thank you for putting this together. And I love hearing all these, beautiful stories and kind words about such a great man. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much. I just wanted to read a comment that was left by Janae Oliver. She said, I didn't know Melvin, but what I've heard is remarkable. What a privilege each of you had to know and love him. I have to log off, but I am praying for his family and colleagues. Continue to be blessed by his life and encouraged by the loving memories. Sincerest regards. And then Crystal wrote, life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. Maya Angelou. Thank you so much. And of course, I think Lamont had his hand up. If he would like to speak.
How's everybody doing? My name's Lamont. I know Melvin since 2015. I am the other half that he used to get up early in the morning to go work out with. We started out as workout partners, not liking each other and me mugging each other in the gym, to becoming like truly best friends and cookouts and fixing his car. And whenever he needed me, I was there for him. And whenever I needed him, he was always there. He always kept his promises. So it's playing basketball and me watching Bubba and Matthew and Ashley to keep them distracted while he played the game, basketball. And then I moved away to Texas because he told me to go, that there's better opportunities for me and my wife to come out there. And like, it broke my heart. And like, I was still in shock because we were always sat there and talk smack about stuff, about sports and all the time. But it's just like, it's unsurreal. Like, he's not here anymore. And I still can't fathom with it coming back towards me. Like, sometimes I sat there and I'm just like the doctor said, it's just like you're in a dream. It's unsurreal. And then I'm like, sorry. And then when I see Bubba and Matthew and Manuel and Julie, and it brings me so much joy to know that now that Melvin's not there, but I'm always going to be there for them. It doesn't matter wherever I am. I'm always going to be there to make sure that Julie and those boys are always taken care of. Because that was my main man. He's like my best friend. And I'm just sorry. And then I miss him. always to this day. And then it's not bye forever. It's till next time we see again. So I just want to say that. And like I said, thank you. Like Mark said, thank you for having this presentation and celebrating Melvin and let everybody get to say something about this great man that he was, that he still is. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for speaking about Dr. Melvin so beautifully. Everybody is speaking so beautifully about him. Anybody else, please feel free to unmute yourself. I see some hearts coming out. So if anybody else wants to speak, please go ahead and do so. Christy, did you have your hand up?
One thing I also wanted to say was that ever since I came out of my mom's belly, I saw the joy in his eyes that he was gonna take care of me like he loves me, and he said that he wanted me to complete his dreams, so I would fulfill his dreams for him.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Words, that's beautiful. We need to fulfill those dreams. Anybody else wants to share? I think this is beautiful. I love it about Dr. Melvin's dreams. I want to know more about his memories. Let's really celebrate him. We do have about 15 minutes left in this time, and so I would love to spend these next 15 minutes for us to just celebrate and for us to talk about what his dreams are, everything else.
You didn't call my name yet. I don't think I can talk
So
yet.
please feel free to unmute yourself. I think someone's unmuted.
Can I talk?
Yeah.
I remember this time when we went to like a place in Mexico. It was a vacation. It was my brother, dad, and my mom. It wasn't my brother, but not my baby brother. He wasn't born back then. So we were on this trip. We arrived. We went someplace to eat. Daddy did not touch Mexican food. He stayed home, did some work on his computer. I don't know, he's writing something on his book. And we went to eat. We came back the next day. We early, probably 10, if I recall, 10:22. We went to it's like the hot tub, what's it called? It's not like a pool, it's a hot jacuzzi. Yeah, Mom, thanks. Jacuzzi, and he was in there. We were playing in the jacuzzi. We thought it was a pool. We were playing. We were and then Dad said, "No, stop. No, no, this is not like a pool for you to play in. No." Relaxed outside the jacuzzi for a minute because I had to pull out. It was so hot. My mom wanted out hotter, because she's under stress for some reason. Because us kids, we like to goof around a lot. We went to the jacuzzi. Then after 20 minutes or so, we were done. We asked Daddy if we could go into the pool, and he said, "I don't know, kids, it's cold." I was like, we don't care. It's a pool." And Daddy was like, "It's cold." I was like, "I know, you don't go near it, but you don't care. It's still a pool." And we went in there. We played for an hour or so, an hour and a half or so, and we went. I practiced swimming. My brother was jumping, ah. He was cold. And Dad was he was just at his phone watching us. And after a time, we were done. Ashley got out the pool, and I kept playing. And then after 12 minutes or so, we went inside. we took showers. And before I knew it, they were like having a good time. Like when I was still in the shower, Daddy didn't. Daddy, he had a good time. Whenever he was like, "I'm all for it. Like let's meet. Ooh, having a good time." And I was in the shower. I was a little mad because they were watching like SpongeBob without me or whatever, and they were eating. They were done eating lasagna, and we had a good time back then. We said to share memories. That was one of my memories, Dad. Hope you guys can share one of your memories of Dad. Bye.
Thank you. So please feel free, everybody else, to unmute and talk about your memories and celebrate.
Ronaldo?
Yeah, I just want to start off by saying thank you guys. I don't really do well with funerals or memorials and stuff like this, but I really do appreciate it, everyone coming out. I truly believe that no one dies until they're forgotten. And if you knew Melvin, it is very hard to forget him and to not remember what he did. And for me, even when he was alive, there wasn't a time that my daily life, I didn't think about what Melvin was thinking about. Like if should I ditch class? No, I probably shouldn't. What would Melvin be thinking? What would he say to me if I ditch class? Should I memorize his monologue and do it for class? Should I do this and that? I probably should because Melvin's watching. So I always keep him in the back of my mind. And there's a lot of people that I look up to who are successful and, all of those things. But Melvin was a true role model and anyone from anywhere could look up to him. And I'm very grateful and appreciative and blessed to have him as a brother. But yes, once again, I appreciate everyone coming out and everything like that. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Ronaldo. Denise, I think I saw that your hand was up earlier. Is it still up? Okay, yes.
I just want to say that, we were both, my husband and I were both heartbroken when we found out about Melvin. I mean, we went to China with him. My husband got to meet him, and the trip to Washington, D.C. was amazing. And we will always remember him and have him in our hearts. He was the kindest and most gentle person, like everyone is saying, and he will be dearly missed. And we're really heartbroken about this too. So.
Thank you, Denise. Charisse, I see your hand is up.
Hi, my name is Charisse. I'm Melvin's little sister. I just want to say thank you to everybody for sharing your memories with us. I still haven't quite processed it yet. I still feel like I can text him and he's gonna respond. So, each and every day I'm trying to grab a hold of it, but I really do appreciate you guys for honoring my brother. He was a great man. He still is a great man, and his legacy will live on. So thank you, everyone. And that's all.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Who else is next? I know I see another hand being raised. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Another time, as soon as we got home from school, we saw like people, like Grandma Hanita, like almost all our family members are there. Like some of them came from New York, some of them came from like different states, and there was like a big meeting. We were talking about something, and then I got my clothes on, and I didn't take a shower though. I don't know if I took a shower. And we were like, I was sitting in the living room, and then Mommy speaked up and said, no, before that, Ashley asked, "Where's Daddy?" I said, "Ashley, come here. I have to tell you something in Daddy's room." I told her that Daddy was in the hospital. She cried. She was in the living room. Then Grandma Henry said, "What did you do, Melvin? Why is she crying?" And then I sat down and I told her I didn't do anything. I just said Daddy's in the hospital. And then she said, Mommy said that's why we're here. But I didn't know that Daddy was dead. I just thought he was in the hospital. And we talked about Daddy. And after 2 minutes, he passed away. He was not gonna come back. And he didn't have much time with us. So after that, my mom talked to Grandma, and we found out that like, what's her name? No, like it was a girl version of Brandon, and she stayed with us for like 3 minutes. Thanks, Matthew. She stayed with us for 3 minutes. 3 days. And she stayed with us for 3 days, and we really enjoyed it. And a lot of people helped me, like my Uncle Brandon, yeah. He helped me, he gave me his phone number. I haven't really called him yet, but we had a good time. Most of the time, I kept crying. My mom kept crying. I was under pressure. And I remember that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Let's have Laura speak, and then after Laura speaks, let's go ahead and we'll have our own Reverend Charlotta Green.
Where's your hand?
Oh, okay, Juanita, yes, absolutely. And then Charlotta will go ahead and lead. So let's have Juanita go, and then Laura. Is that okay? Perfect.
Hi, my name is Juanita, Melvin's mom. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that participated and Pepperdine putting this together. It was a little difficult. It took me a while to respond, but I felt like it was important for me to be in attendance because I really appreciate everyone that loved him and cared for him and showed their appreciation for him. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, your dad's there.
All right, and so thank you so much. So Laura, and then also and then Dr. Ebony Kane needs to offer a couple of remarks, and then we will do our prayers. So go ahead, Laura, and then Dr. Kane.
Let them know that I.
Is there someone else? Oh, sorry. Yes, please speak.
They already hear you and everything.
We can hear you.
Go ahead, Mel. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Like I said, I want to thank everybody for putting this all together. I'm Melvin's dad, Melvin Sr. I have been having a hard time with it, but I know I'm going to get through it. And I know he would want me to get through it. I had a lot of things to say, but I don't want to take up a lot of time. But I wanted to thank you guys all for putting this together for him. Me and Melvin, the last few days, we spent more time together than we had in a long time. And I had a hard time getting Melvin to leave me when we would get together. And it was hard, but we really enjoyed each other, you know, to see the smile, to see the joy, to see the want. Melvin would go on jobs with me and he would work alongside of me. He always used to say, Dad, I want to know how to do everything you know how to do. And it brought me back to a point in time where he was little and he said, Dad, I want to be better than you were. And I would tell him, that's what I want. That's all I ever wanted you guys to be. I want you guys to exceed anything and everything that I've done in life. And that was his goal. And I saw it more and more as he got older. And I was like, yeah, he's really gonna pull this off. And because I didn't think he was, I thought maybe, that was one thing that he said, like all the other kids, they say, well, Dad, I'm gonna do this and do that. And I would see it just kind of go away. But with him, it never went away. And even in going to school, he'd come home from school and he'd say, I say, son, what you gotta do? What kind of homework you gotta do? Want me to look at it? You want me to check it? And he would always say, no, Dad, it's already done. And I'm like, come on, man. How you gonna do the homework? You haven't even got home from school yet and you got your homework done? He said, yeah, Dad, I don't waste any time. Every minute that I had, I used it. And I was like, wow, that makes sense. Then I'd check his homework and it'd always be nice. It would all be good. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll leave you alone. Melissa, come here, see your homework. And I go down the line. But that was just one of the things. That was another thing too with me and him when we was together. And I see it in my grandchildren because they always want me to tell them stuff. Every time I'm with them. But Grandpa, tell me, what did you do when this happened? What happened during this time? And I would see him in them. The last time we were together around my birthday, they came out to visit me on my birthday, and all I did was tell stories over and over and over again. And then I would tell them, because we go to the same restaurant every time he'd come out here. And I took the kids there, and that's where we ate, and they would sit at the same table. Dad, Grandpa, tell me what you and Dad would talk about when you guys would be here. And that's what we did all the time. And it was just reminded me of him sitting at the table. And Bubba, the last time he said, well, Bubba, Daddy, and Grandpa, tell me one more story. And I was like, oh man, another one. Let me see what I can think about. And I'd go over the story. Like I said, I had a million of them. And that's what me and Melvin would do. We would just talk and he would just listen and listen and listen and listen. He always wanted to learn. And he would always tell me, Dad, I'm gonna raise my kids the same way you raised me. And I cannot remember a time ever having to raise my voice to them, to really holler at them. Except for maybe doing sports, when you're out on the field or you're in the gym, you gotta speak loud enough so everybody can hear you. But that's the only time that I ever remember raising my voice to them. But like I said, I didn't want to hold up everybody. I want to give everybody a chance to speak. I want to say thank you again for putting this together. Thank you all for loving my son, because he truly was someone that needed to be loved, and he loved being loved. And I thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And so Laura, why don't we have you go? So we're going to stay a little bit over 6. And I do apologize if if we're kind of over time a little bit here, but we want to make sure we get Laura in, and then we want to make sure that we have Reverend Charlotta Green go ahead and do the prayers. And then of course, we will be ending after that. So thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you so very much to all of you, to his parents for raising an amazing child. I know he came into the world like this, but I also know that you did an amazing job too. And to his brothers and sisters, and to his other family, cousins, and his children and his wife, you all gave him an opportunity to give some of the time that you could have spent with him to letting him go and teach my son, who he had in 7th grade when he moved over to Da Vinci. And that was his first year, and he got thrown into the process very fast, and he had a lot to learn, and he was so open to it, and he was cool as a cucumber, even though I knew there was a lot going on. And my son was in another class in 8th grade, and midway through the first few weeks, his teacher wasn't able to come back to teach. And so Melvin had to take up a few of the students from the class, and they got split up, and my son was in that class as well. And so Melvin had my son again, and it was quite lovely to get to see him again and get to have a conference with him just the day before he passed. And he got to, you know, I could see the dedication. He was always there. If I had a question, he'd answer it. I mean, he was just, and he would talk about, you know, his dedication to getting up early in the morning to working out and all the other endeavors, and being there as a dad and as a husband and a student. It was just inspiring for my son to see, to be quite frank. And, you know, he actually didn't fulfill one of his, I mean, he had so many things on his plate, but he had promised one of the students in my son's class that they were gonna race each other the next day. And he didn't quite get to make that, but that was what he did. Even on his recess breaks, he was out there on the field with the kids and playing alongside them and showing them, you know, what it was to be a sportsman, you know, teaching them games of all the rules of the games and how to be a good person in general. And I was just so lucky and blessed that part of his time was spent with my child, and certainly not the amount of time that you all got to spend with him, but it was just very treasured. And I know that he's just still with us in so many ways, and he lives on in the legacy of his children. And I'm so thankful for all of you sharing, and his smile. I can see it in his children too, and his parents. And I just, I just want to say thank you. And I want to say thank you to all of his friends and students that he studied alongside. He is an amazing man, and will never be forgotten, that's for sure. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Laura. And Dr. Kane.
Thank you to every single person who logged on today. I just wanted to say on behalf of GSEP and Pepperdine, we are so thankful for the time that we've spent with Melvin, getting to know Melvin. Our motto is purpose, service, and leadership. And Melvin represents every single one of those so well. And he has made this institution a better place because he entered the door. And for every single one of his colleagues and friends in this program, I can tell you that first faculty meeting after we all found out, there was not a dry eye in the room. His presence, his loss, our loss, it shook the earth underneath our feet. And we're still trying to find our grounding, but we are just thankful. And we're thankful that we get to be a part of his legacy. We're so excited to see the faces of his children, his wife, his mom, his dad, his sister, and every single one of you here today. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kane. And Charlotta.
Yes. Good evening, all. I did not have an opportunity to know Dr. Melvin Johnson, but I am so thankful for the gift of hearing and getting to know him through this time together. And I will end our time together in prayer. Will you join me? Gracious God, we give you thanks for this time that we've had to remember and celebrate the life of Melvin Johnson, for you giving us the gracious gift of sharing his life with us and the beautiful soul that he was. He's left an indelible mark on all the lives of the people he's touched and even those he never physically met. What an amazing gift you've given to us. While his presence is missed, his spirit lives on in the lives of his family, his wife, his children, his friends, his colleagues, and all the students whose lives he touched. May we all be inspired by his life to live fully in our purpose and to make a difference in the world with our gifts and building relationships with others. God, we ask for your comfort, your peace, and your love to just surround his family and all those who loved him and who were loved by him. Oh God, hearts are broken and there's an empty space, and yet we give thanks always for this beautiful life that you entrusted to our care for just a little while and the difference that it's made. May we all make such a difference in the world with our lives. We ask that you just bless us all. Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Charlotta. Amen to the prayers. And with that said, it is 6:08 p.m. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Thank you all so much for being here today and for being a part of our celebration event, our remembrance event for Dr. Melvin Johnson. It was just so beautiful to hear all of you speak, to hear the stories and to hear the beautiful memories that you all have. And I will leave you with this, that he is around, he is here, and he will always be a part of our lives, no matter where we all go. And I am truly, truly happy to see all of you, to be able to celebrate with all of you. I myself did not know Dr. Melvin Johnson. I met him briefly when we were putting together our episode for the podcast, and I did drop the link in the chat. You are interested in listening to his interview with us, with Dr. Miramontes, and we were talking about his book, The McKinnons. So the link to Spotify is in the chat. Go ahead and save the chat if you can. I will also send an email out to all of you with the link. I will also send an email to all of you with the link to the video today, so you can all have this to listen to as many times as you want. I will make sure that you all have that. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Dr. Kane and Dr. Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
And
everybody.
Melvin, I read